You have just tapped into the Christian Life Coach Collective, and I'm your host, Laura Malone. I'm here to equip and encourage coaches in skills, business, personal life, and faith. I believe you're already 100% worthy and capable, and you're called for such a time as this. So let's get you walking it out with courage and confidence so you can be an amazing coach who sees transformation and great results in both your life and the lives around you. Let's get started. Hoping you're having a great day. Today, I want to talk to you about the difference between a coaching niche and a coaching method. I recently had a client who got the two mixed up, and I realized I don't know if I've actually addressed this. Maybe I have somewhere in 300 episodes, but I wanted to put this out there while it's fresh in my mind after helping her work through the process because it was stuck in her mind that the niche and the method were the same thing. And oh my gosh, they're like so not the same thing. And I thought, if she's thinking this, I know so many of you are thinking this. So I know you've heard a million different voices if you've been looking at becoming a coach or building your business. And they have been saying, especially like online or social media, things like that, find your niche, create your signature method, or my favorite word, your proprietary signature method. And maybe you're wondering, like, aren't they the same thing? Like, how do I know what the difference between these things are? Um, if I know who to help, don't I just start coaching them? Or if I have like this cool process that I think is so amazing, won't the right people just come and like be attracted to it? Like, won't they just magically find it somewhere out there in the world? So they're not the same. One's a marketing strategy and one is actually a coaching strategy. So when you understand how they work together, then your whole business becomes more clear, more effective, and actually, I think just a little bit more joyful for you because of that clarity and that definition. So let's break it down. First off, your niche is about who you help and what they need help with. So the who and the what. So it's the focused group of people that you feel called to serve based on shared identity or common struggle, like they have a specific desire that they want to work towards. So, this is like your invitation to the people that you're called to reach and help. But your coaching method, on the other hand, that's the how, right? And the why. So, it's the intentional process, the framework, the journey you take people on to help them go from I'm stuck here at point A to I'm thriving over here at point B. So it's like, what happens after they say, yes, I am the who with the what that needs your help? So I like to think about it like your niche is what helps them, it draws them in because it helps them know they are the person that you can help. Your method is what actually helps them in their transformation after they say, yes, I need that. I want coaching. So the niche is the door that they walk through, the entry, and the method is like the path they walk on. So remember this, your coaching niche answers the uh, who needs help and what they need help with. And your coaching method answers the how and the why. Okay. All right. So I'll explain them both so you can see how they work together a little bit more. Like, let's summarize it a little bit before we dive in so you can have context as I'm giving you more info about it. So, let's think about a coaching niche. Some examples might be like women navigating midlife things, transitions, whatever. Um, Specifically, Christians, moms of teens, right? Versus Christian dads of toddlers, right? It's like a completely different niche, completely different who, but a completely different what. Former ministry leaders, trying to figure out like who are they in the next chapter. That could even be like former military people or first responders, trying to figure out what do I do when I'm no longer in the military or I'm not a first responder anymore. creative entrepreneurs who feel emotionally stuck. And it's kind of funny that as I'm thinking about these things, I am in your niche if you help any of these people. Oh my gosh. I just basically, yeah, I just told you everything. I told you all about my who I am and what I need help with, or at least I have needed help with at some point. So that's kind of funny. That's what came out of me. Okay, so let's talk about coaching methods, the way that you support someone like me, a woman navigating midlife transition, a Christian mom of teenagers, a ministry leader, first responder, trying to figure out like what do I do next, and also I've definitely been a creative entrepreneur who felt stuck. So yeah, how would you help me? So using, kind of like backstory work and journaling, that's a method. Teaching a framework like my Pearl practice, that is a coaching method. A lot of active listening and referring to scripture can be part of your method. Actually, blending coaching and consulting, that is a really powerful um, method. And I'm actually talking more about that in an upcoming episode about being a coach consultant and how I'm building that out to be able to help you take what your life experience is and draw on your skills and what you know now and put that into the context of being a coach and how to blend coaching and consulting together. So keep your ears open for that. Okay, let's go back. The niche is the who and the what, right? So it's not just some cute label or demographic of people, it's actually you making a really powerful decision to get focused and say, I think this is big key. Listen to what I'm about to say. Some people are very niche resistant. I understand it. It's totally fine. When you're not resistant to a niche and you understand, or you take my niche clarity course and understand more about how a niche is helpful, then you can come back to this, right? If you want to. Um, I think that it's really powerful to look at developing a niche instead of saying, I can help anybody and everybody, which might be true, even if it's not. It might feel true. And your heart to help anybody and everybody might be really true, but not anybody and everybody can find you. So what is a good mindset to get into is to say, this is the group of people with a problem who I feel responsible to care about. This is the group of people whose breakthrough I'm passionate about helping them get. Like, so that way you start going, this is the group of people who I can speak directly to. I can speak straight to their struggle, their desire, the story they're in, and they will feel and hear themselves in your message when you act that way, when you look at your niche, your group of people. Wow, I really want to help all those women in their this stage of midlife. I've been there. I am passionate about helping them. I didn't have any help. I want to be a guide to those women in the wilderness. I have been a mom with teenagers where I was a Christian and they weren't necessarily, or they weren't acting like it. Like, I know how hard that is. And I want to help those moms. I have such compassion for them, but I've got some lived experience. I want to start developing content and actually develop my coaching method in a way that specifically helps that group of people. They are my niche. Then you realize how dialing in is super helpful, really powerful, and offers that group of people the greatest amount of hope. When you do this, then the purpose of the niche actually clarifies the message that you offer, that you speak, that you share, that comes out of your heart. It clarifies your marketing. It establishes trust and credibility and authority for you. And it helps clients actually what is that word? Well, like self identify and sorry, self select is what I wanted to say. They can say, I heard what you said, I read what you said, and I know that is for me. I am the person who needs your help. Okay, right. So, like, again, thinking, uh, I had different ideas, like Christian moms wanting to figure out this is a blend of a couple things. The Christian mama teens, right? Well, those teens leave. Those moms, they're like the ministry leaders or the people in the military. Who am I? The people looking to rediscover their identity, like that it's been attached to whatever they've been doing for the past few decades. Well, that has shifted and they're trying to figure out who am I and what do I do now, right? Or maybe you've got burned out responders or healthcare workers, nurses, caregivers, in any way who want to keep helping people, but they want to find purpose. But they have to transition because they've been burnt out, but they still want to care for people, but they've had some compassion fatigue, maybe some PTSD that they've had to work through. And you can be an informed coach who's not, you're not their therapist, you're not counseling them through PTSD, but you can say, I understand how you've been in healthcare and you have experienced compassion fatigue. You've experienced being overworked and burnt out. And because of that, I can help you transition into some purpose led work in this next career, this next profession or season of your life with it because I'm informed about how those things can impact you, the kind of resistance that you might feel to taking this action. I understand it. I'm the right coach for you. So, all of these people groups I'm talking about, they have specific pain points, they have specific desires and longings in their hearts, right? So, my personal niche is women who are looking for a way to make an impact and create an income. And they want to use their own life experience so they can help others and help themselves at the same time, right? Maybe they want to they want to stay at home while they work, or they feel stuck in the day to day. They feel powerless to help their family financially. They love helping others, but they don't want to burn out doing it, right? So, to find your niche, you need to start by asking, what have you personally walked through? What kind of story or expertise do you carry within you? Um, Ask yourself, who do you naturally attract or help already? What patterns do you see in those that you naturally help? And by the way, if you're listening to these episodes and you're thinking, I give you a lot of information and I give you questions to ask yourself. I know that you can't always just pull over the car and stop to answer these. So when you look at the show notes, you can see that you can read all of this. I create not necessarily a full transcript of this, but I summarize everything that I'm saying into a blog post on the website. So if you go to sterlingstonementoring.com, then you'll see at the top the menu, the blog, and you can just go find the same title for this episode is listed there. And then you can see like all of these questions. I put that um in the blog. I leave out the stuff that's nonsense that I'm saying, like right now, what I'm telling you. You don't need to read that in the blog. I just put all the good, juicy stuff right there. So if you are like, hey, I want to answer these questions, but I can't do it right now. I'm holding a baby and folding laundry, whatever, I'm driving, working, then you can go read the blog or listen to this or read the transcript in your podcast app. Okay. Next question, ask yourself what burden won't leave you alone? What problem do people have that you feel a drive to help solve? Right. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to do the work or you're going to solve your client's problems, but there's something you really deeply care about. Also, you can think about what kind of results you feel confident that you can help other people get, and where does the need that they have and the transformation, where do they intersect? Also, what can happen is that you might start out caring about one group of people getting breakthrough, but over time, you might pivot to a new or slightly different group of people. And I did that. And I think it's totally okay that you can experience your own growth in your business and your niche and your offer and methods. Like all of those things will pivot and grow and shift and expand as you transition into your own version of scalability and sustainability, not just as a business owner, but as a coach and as a person. As a coach, you grow more than you would if you weren't a coach. That's all I'm going to say. it, it stretches you. Being a coach and a business owner will stretch you and refine you in ways you never expected. So, also, I want to say that I would avoid making your niche too broad. Like, I help women live their best life. I just help women have joy. And that sounds great, but I have no idea what that means if that's what you say to me. Really? Like, how do you know what I don't have joy about? Can we get more specific? You can also be a little bit too vague. Like, I help people with their mindset. And of course, I love mindset coaching, but it's too intangible. I help people with mindset work. Like, that needs to be tied to some kind of tangible outcome. They're not wrong, they're just unclear, and unclear messages, unclear offers, they don't convert people from listeners, readers, viewers to paying clients who do the work to get the results they say they want. Now, once you know who you help and what they need, that is your niche and that's your invitation to focus on the exact people that you care about getting transformative results. Again, you can get the niche clarity course. I'll put the link at that in the show notes. That will help you figure out all of this for you. Um, because most of us discover our niche through our own story. Like you went through something in life, you grew through something, and now you can walk somebody else through it. So that's kind of the gold that I help you dig for in the niche clarity course. I help you determine like what is it that you care about, all these things that we're talking about. What is your core message? And then your core message, it has a solution in there that we can create. And that is a solution for a specific problem. And that problem is linked to a specific group of people. This is where your coaching method comes in. So that's the system or process or framework, whatever you want to call it, the journey that you lead them through. So it's not about giving advice, it's not about winging it. It's actually like it's a specific pathway to their transformative results. A coaching method is what you create, and you're not going to necessarily know the end all method, like the method of all methods. You will have to do the work of experimenting and growing into the right method. And my method is still always evolving. My method is never exactly the same from session to session, client to client, ever, because you can't decide, I have this one specific method and it has to go this way because you don't have the human element of the client who's living and breathing impacting how that method needs to be nuanced to help them get the best results that they need. So if you get too stuck on your method, I advise you to come away and detach somewhat because it needs to have a flow. It needs to be fluid so that it can be flexible enough to actually help the one person in this one moment while you're coaching them. Okay. So it's something that builds over time. It might include tools, frameworks and styles of coaching, it even your personality and like how you might intuitively ask questions, the stories you share, the kind of container you create for all of it. It's it's the how you guide people. So people get mixed up, coaches, especially new coaches, get mixed up. They try to sell the method when what people want is a solution to their problem. Because nobody wakes up and says, gosh, you know what I think I need today? I need like a 5 or 6 step reflective coaching model with a soul centered framework. No, you and I and the rest of the world wake up and go, I am so stinking stuck. I wish I had somebody who gets that, who can help me move forward to do things that I am capable of doing, right? Nobody has in mind what your method is, what your coaching model is. Nobody's thinking about that. So when you use language about it, they don't get it. And when you can shift from thinking about, okay, actually, let me say this. There are two groups of people you need to talk to. There's the group of people you can help, and you need to talk to them about the problem that they have and everything around it, the emotions, the fears, all of the struggles around that problem, or the desire they have, and the obstacles and hindrances, and like all of the things attached. And what does that be like if they ever reach that top of that mountain, right? And they get that result. There's that group of people. And then there's this other group of people, and they are coaches and entrepreneurs. And you can talk about methods and models and frameworks all day long with them because they also have their methods and models and frameworks that they want to talk about. But the method and model and framework, that is not anything that your ideal client wants to talk about. They don't care. They want to talk about point A and point B. I'm stuck. I want this instead. I want to go over there. That's what you need to talk to them about. That's what goes on your sales pages. That's what happens on your website. If you want to talk about developing your proprietary coaching method, that's your clients are not the ones you talk to about that. Go find some peers who are coaches and coaching business owners and dial it in, dig in with them, get in a session with me and let's go after it. But I did this for a long time. I talked about my method and no clients wanted the method because the method wasn't tangible for enough for them. There was no context. They were like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, why would I want a soul centered framework? I don't even know what that means. Why would I want you to make sure? Like, why do I need to know that you're going to ask me reflective questions, but you're a really good listener? That's fine, but that's still all about you as the coach, right? I needed to talk to my clients about my clients. And I was so interested in being a coach and starting a coaching business that I was talking about me as a coach and what I was going to do and wanted to do all of the time. And I was talking to the wrong group of people. So when you get a coaching method, start putting that into place. It will help you get confident. It'll help you feel really clear in your coaching sessions. It will show that you have a higher level of thought leadership, that you're able to deliver, like actually produce results and scale your coaching without burnout, right? And it's going to, inside of your coaching relationship, it'll create safety for you and your client. It'll create structure and clarity. And it's also going to differentiate your work and show that thought leadership that you have to the world. Like, why would you choose me over another coach who does the same, you know, coaches the same niche? There's enough people to go around. There's enough Christian moms with teenagers. We need more than one coach in the world, right? The whole like idea that the coaching industry is that like that the world is saturated with too many coaches is completely a bologna sandwich. So, all right, you you want to be able to deliver repeatable results. And so having a coaching method that you build upon and you flow with, like that actually helps you repeat results, which is good for you, good for your business, and really good for your clients. Okay. So a few method examples of my own, obviously the Pearl practice. That is my proprietary signature method. Blah blah blah. That's my thing. Like the Lord gave that to me and has been developed for years. This work of understanding how your paradigm of thoughts and belief system, like it impacts the emotions you experience, which influences the actions that you take and don't take, and which create tangible results and culminate in an intangible legacy. Like I can see it all day long. I don't use that in every coaching session though, because it's fluid and flexible and it's nuanced and it's going to work when it's supposed to work, when it needs to rise up, when it needs to appear in the session. And I teach my clients how to do it without me, right? They don't have to have a session to walk through themselves through this. I want people to know how to do this. I want to multiply the concept. And then I want moms to teach the teenagers how to do this, how to take personal responsibility and renew their minds, right? Identity encounter, discovering your true identity and finding your purpose, knowing where you belong, and actually designing your future with God. Like that is one of my methods. Confidence cash, as in, or cachet, however you like to say it. It's niche or niche, whatever. Um, CACHE. Confidence leads to action, which leads to clarity, which gives you hindsight, which then produces the emotion of feeling ready and certain and competent. So, starting with confidence, just the willingness to show up and try without the feeling that you're certain, ready, and competent. That is the confidence cash. And so, when I'm working with clients who are trying to build confidence, we reframe the whole thing, what everybody thinks confidence really is. And we actually look at what's going to really build confidence for them. And then I have the story making lab, which you probably, if you listen to the story makers podcast, then you'll hear more about that over there. But it's all about helping women take personal responsibility, getting honest with themselves and with God, defining and clarifying this new story they want to step into, and then creating a massive action taking strategy. So, all of these methods, they're structured, but they're very, very flexible. I did not start my coaching business with any of these. So, all of them have been a progression of all the work of years of coaching that I've done, where I've started with concepts and ideas and I just experimented and I grew as I coached people in knowledge and awareness and experience. And I grew as I prayed and asked the Lord to show me, how do I help the people that you're sending me? Right. So all of these methods, they evolved over time. So they guide the journey, but that I always leave room for Holy Spirit and the client's uniqueness. Like who they are, how they're showing up is so different than the last client and the next client. And my own intuition as a coach. So the characteristics of a good method are, again, you can look at this on the blog if you need this written out. It needs to be adaptable, but still structured. It needs to be results focused and easy to communicate and rooted in your coaching, like your unique, particular, specific, too many words there, your core philosophy and strengths of who you are as a coach, what your business stands for. So, developing your method, you want to start with the transformation that your niche wants. And then when you look at point B, you reverse engineer all of the internal shifts that will be required of that client. And then you just kind of lay out, like, you can call them steps, phases, stages, whatever you want to say, but make at least three, likely to maybe six key steps or different stages or phases that your client will need to walk through to get from point A to point B. And then you can just name it something. It can be very simple. You don't have to get super, um, what is the right word for that? Like, it doesn't have to be cutesy, right? It can be a really powerful thing. Like mine is called the Pearl Practice, but it is very clear to me and you once I teach you that what Pearl stands for. But honestly, like if you Googled Pearl Practice, well, you're not going to Google Pearl Practice unless you know what it is, because you're not looking for a mindset, a way to renew your mind with using the word Pearl, right? But once I teach you what it is, it makes sense and it's easily remembered. Then you want to actually test and refine the method in real sessions with breathing, living human clients. I actually feel like I need to say that out loud, that the clients, you actually have to practice these things with people who are breathing. And I want you to ask yourself, like, what kind of consistent results do you want to help create? What internal shifts are needed to get those results? What steps or phases show up every time I work with somebody on this? And then what is the real journey from problem to transformation, from point A to point B? So you don't need a complicated or perfect system. You just need a clear path that you can communicate to anybody and walk them through. Obviously, I'm going to tell you, book a legacy builder session with me if you need help working this out. Um, as I want to give you a couple examples of some coaching, confused coaches, right? The reasons that coaches get confused between niche and method. Number one, I would say they name their method as their niche. And I have seen this, and I've specifically seen I coach people using the Enneagram. So the Enneagram is a powerful tool, but it's part of a method. It's not a niche because it doesn't tell who you help, what their problem is, why they need coaching. So the clarification is a niche would be I help Christian women use the Enneagram to heal relationships or patterns rooted in people pleasing. If you know anything about the Enneagram, then you know which Enneagram types I'm talking about. Sorry. Okay. Number two, they focus on the tool and not the person. So, for example, they say, I use breath work, scripture, and somatic healing in my coaching. Okay. Again, it's confusing because that's a list of how you help, but not who you help or the result that they're looking for. So you could say, I help women who feel numb or anxious reconnect to their body and their spirit through breath work, somatic tools, and biblical truth, right? So you can say, I help this person, I help the who and the what that they feel. I help women who feel numb or anxious. And then say like how you do it. You can talk about your method and your tools, but don't like again, make sure that you're clarifying the difference between the niche and the method and not confusing the two. I will also say some coaches confuse their passion with their audience. And this is another area where you're talking about yourself, not talking about the clients that you want to help. For example, I'm really passionate about identity and purpose. It's confusing because that sounds like part of a method or a theme, but it doesn't actually tell you who I serve or what outcome they want. To clarify, I could say, I help women, women in midlife, rediscover their identity and purpose after divorce, after becoming an empty nester, after retirement, right? Like any of those things. But confusing what I'm passionate about with who needs what I'm passionate about. Like that's all that's talking about my core message that needs to be shifted into a solution that solves a problem that people have. Again, niche clarity course. Number four, they assume that their story is their niche. For example, I went through postpartum depression, so I help women heal. It's confusing because it's a great starting point, but healing is really just too vague. What kind of women? What kind of healing? What kind of outcome do you help them get? So to clarify, you could say, I help new moms recovering from postpartum depression rebuild their confidence and connect with their baby. Yay, that's me. Like people are going to go like, that's totally me. I need confidence. The depression broke down the confidence I had as a new mom. I don't feel the connection I wish that I had. I am recovering from postpartum depression. That is so me. Where's the button I click? Number five, they say a method, but they think it's a niche. So it's kind of backwards of the first one. But for example, my framework is the RISE method: recognize, integrate, strengthen, and emerge. Well, that is not your niche. You cannot have a niche of people who want to recognize, integrate, strengthen, and emerge. Like that's just not a niche. That's not a group of people. It's a great method. But again, who's it for? What do they want to rise up from? So to clarify, you can say, I help women in toxic work environments find their voice and transition to healthy leadership using my RISE method. And lastly, confused coaches talk about the market the method instead of the result. So they say things like, I take people through, and we talked about this already, I take people through a 5-phase model of transformation. But it's confusing because people don't want to buy a model. They want to buy results. People don't buy coaching. They don't buy methods. They buy and invest in the results. So you have to speak to the results. So to clarify, you can say, I help women who feel stuck in survival mode finally step into peace and clarity using a 5-phase transformation model that I created. Okay. That is who and what. And then you can talk about how. So the niche draws them in and the method keeps them and grows them. So your marketing says, I help this niche go from this struggle to their desired result. Delivery says, here's the journey I'll walk you through to get there. So when people book, then they're interested in knowing, like, okay, how are we going to do this, coach? So if, again, one niche could be women in ministry that feel lost in space, lost in transition. And your method could be the soul mapping process, right? We're going to map the truth, renew your personal purpose, and create the next steps plan. So if you have a niche and a method already, here's some questions to reflect on. Does your method speak directly to your niche's needs? Can you clearly communicate both your method and your niche to a potential client, somebody in the line at the store? And are you marketing your method or your niche? You really need to look at your language. Ask people, what does this mean to you when you read what I have said or on my website or whatever I just said to you about what I do? What do you hear? You can ask friends, family, like people at church, doesn't matter. Get some feedback on how people are, what they're hearing. Are they hearing you talk about yourself or them? Or are they hearing you talk about how you're doing something or what the problem is that you're helping or the group of people that you're helping? So the flow is that your niche brings the right person to the table and your method helps them walk from point A to point B. So I want you to try this. Actually, craft like a 1-sentence niche statement. It's okay to experiment here. Remember, you're going to start out with something and it'll evolve and turn into something else over time, and that is to be expected. So I help, and then specific people, choose a group of people, overcome, and then choose a specific challenge so that they can and choose a specific outcome. And then just sketch out a simple method framework. Take a wild guess at what you might do to help them. Think about their specific outcome as point B and like their challenge, you got to take them backwards and work it backwards from, if they want this, then they're going to have to go through these 3 to 6 steps, right? And align it to the client journey and lay it out, and then audit all your content. So are you leading with transformation for a specific person, or are you really just kind of sharing tools and ideas? So if your niche is women in ministry going through like some kind of major life transition, and your method is something like the soul map process, where you help them rediscover who they are and reconnect to their calling, like why they said yes in the first place, step into this next chapter with peace and clarity. Well, you get to create something that feels like you in this, that's rooted in your lived experience and led by your values. So remember that creating from own, your healed scars, not from your open wounds. That's going to have more impact and even bring you more healing. So making offers that allow you um, to trauma dump what you've been through, and you still need to process, that serves nobody in the long run, including you. So I just want to throw those things out there. When you're creating a way for you to help other people, you can take it from your story and your lived experience, but you want to create things from scars, not scabs. I've heard somebody say that. I don't know who it is that said that to me years ago. I heard it. It's so wise. Speak from the scars, because there's a healing, a level of healing on those scars. But if it's an open wound or it's still scabbed over, like, that's not a place that you should be teaching or leading or speaking from. And you could do more damage than good. But also, you don't want to create a space where what happens is, instead of coaching people, you get to say, I so identify with what you've gone through or what you're struggling with because I've been there, and then you trauma dump on them. This is not what we're doing. Okay. It's probably a whole completely different episode. Actually, it's probably 3. So let's wrap up. If you've been stuck trying to figure out what your coaching business is really about, I hope that maybe this is a piece that brings clarity to you, because you can be creative and you can be strategic. You can be heart and business. You can be spirit and structure. And you can be a coach who has a heart for people with a framework for change, because you've got this. You're going to clarify this. Your niche is your message, your method. That's the ministry that you're going to walk through them with, and through with them. Sorry. So if you're still figuring it out, that is okay. You just got to start with your story. Who were you a few years ago? What helped you most? What do you wish you'd had? Um, and who do you naturally draw in when you do start talking, right? That's your niche whispering to you. If you're ready to dive into it, please grab the Niche Clarity course from the show notes. I'm going to show you how to determine your core message and turn it into a coaching offer that helps solve specific problems for specific people, so that your coaching can make the greatest impact, because you're called to coach. So let's get you doing it. Okay. I can't wait to talk to you in the next episode, full of juicy goodness. All right. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. For more coaching resources and to learn how to work with me, head to sterlingandstonementoring.com or click the link in the show notes. Remember, walk boldly in your calling, and I'll talk to you next time.